And here at CMM Live, as you know, we try to help Long Island thrive by bringing thought leaders and leaders in their industries here to talk about their work and to talk about how their hard work has helped change Long Island. And today we are so very happy to be joined by my good friend Hillary Needle. Hillary is the president of Hillary Needle Events. And I've known Hillary, I guess it's got to be more than 15 years at this point, right?
Definitely.
Yeah, and I'll tell you folks, you know, in a shameless plug for Hillary, she has really changed the way events are done here on Long Island. Now, on Long Island, events are a huge part of how we communicate, how we market, how we network. Right? And as we all know, there's nothing worse than a poor event. But on the other hand, there's nothing better than a great event.
It's great. Yeah.
And I'll tell you that Hillary's events are all extraordinarily well done. They really bring the satisfaction that's needed to be able to done. So let's dig into it, Hill.
Thanks, Joe.
Happy Thanksgiving. How was your holiday? Everything was good?
Great.
Yeah?
It was great. Yep.
Your kids were there. I'm sure you were beaming.
There. It was a lot of fun to have everybody together, a lot of cooking, a lot of eating.
That's terrific. That's what it's kind of all about, right?
I think so. At home, it's like a little mini event.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. Do you drive your family crazy when you're planning an event, a holiday? You know, do they get checklists?
They don't get anything because I like to do everything unless there's certain cooking things that everybody gets their little designated assignment. And I did float an itinerary to everybody in advance for the weekend. So I guess, yeah, maybe a little crazy.
I love that, though. I really do. I love that. So you have gone on record where you talk about the science of event planning, you know, and God bless you, because I can't stand going to terrible events. And when I know that Hillary Needle is running an event, I get so excited about going. It's the truth, folks. It's really the truth. You all know what I'm talking about. Terrible events are just terrible. But with Hillary in charge, there is sort of a science that goes into it. So talk about it. Talk about how you got here. Talk about your background. Talk about why you went into this, and talk about your process.
Well, I graduated from Hofstra University with a degree in journalism, and I was working on a PR track, but I was also doing special events on campus, as well as even in my sorority. So my first job out of school was with the American Heart Association as a special event coordinator. And I was doing your jump rope for hard, and your dance for hard, and your walkathons, and your turkey trots. And, you know, I was fresh out of school, so it was a great learning experience for me. It was boot camp, basically, to be running all these events underneath the director of development. And then at a certain point, that person moved on, and I submitted to be promoted, and they selected me to do so. And again, I was very young at the time, and I was dealing with at the time, a board of middle-aged businessmen, physicians, and corporate guys. Not all. There was diversity. There was diversity, but it was me. And in the beginning, there was a lot of honey, baby, sweetheart. You know, and I had to work really hard to gain their approval and ultimately their respect. And it turned out to be one of the best experiences that I've had. And it taught me early on that working hard gets. It does yield results. And when you're working with good people, especially in the nonprofit world, they're all there to do good. They want to do good. They want to be generous and give of themselves. And my job is to make that part easy for them and comfortable so that they want to come back and they want to do even more. And I learned that, really early on. And then I went to work for an event planning company in Garden City for about 8 years, and then I left and started Hillary Needle Events 9 years ago, and haven't looked back. It's been
the entrepreneurial bug struck.
Yes.
Right, and what was it? Looking at it and saying, so I know when I started this firm, I looked at the landscape and I said, you know what? It's not that I can do it better, it's just that I can do it different, and I can make it my own, and I can do it the way I think it should be done. Not better, not worse, just different. What was that process like for you?
I enjoy being a leader, and I enjoy being in charge while collaborating. And I think that has a lot to do with the science of event planning, is with the clients. You've got your creativity, your collaboration, your chemistry, and your communication. So all these things are very important when you're working with someone trying to plan an event, whether it's a corporate event or not-for-profit. You have to be a really good listener. That's part of what being a good event planner is. What does the client need? Where do they need help? Where do they think they're doing well, but in reality, they do need help? And that's my job and our job to impart that wisdom to them.
Yeah, and the leadership part is important. Look, I drive my staff crazy because every little detail actually matters.
Yeah, it
People don't think that it
matters.
matters, but leadership matters. So
it does.
How does that work? How do you do that dance with a client? You know?
Well, I know that they've hired me because they need my expertise, right? You don't hire a plumber to do your taxes, right? So if you need an event planner and you have a goal of running a stellar event that's really effective and pushes all the buttons that you need it to accomplish for you, you bring in a professional. Professionals have relationships with vendors. We can negotiate, we can leverage, we can say, oh, we worked with this person. I think you'd be a better fit with this particular vendor or this particular catering hall. And here's why, just from our experience. So 9 times out of 10, you know, they're really grateful for that guidance. And then the execution part comes in.
Yeah, I guess it takes a lot of listening, really listening to what it is that they are about, what they want to accomplish, the people that are going to be there, and then figuring it out.
And especially with a not-for-profit group, there's a lot of cooks in that kitchen. You've got your executive director, your development person, perhaps an event coordinator that's on staff that you're coming in to support. So there's a dance that you have to do that's very respectful and mindful of what this is their full-time role. So you're there to make them look good. And conversely, with a corporate entity, you're working with their marketing people, right? And you want the marketing person to be able to focus on their marketing tasks. Running an event is all-consuming, and there's a lot of details, a lot going on. So, you know, to bring an event planner in from a corporate perspective is smart, because it lets the marketing person do what they need to do, and you just focus on the event.
Yeah, there's no shortage of events, particularly here on Long Island. You know, and you got to find a way to make it stand out. You got to find a way to make your mark on it so that people say that was a really great event. How do we do that? So how do you do that? How how do you work your magic though?
Well, it takes a lot. It takes a lot of years of experience and knowing what factors and what to do with the people that you're given. So if you have a chairperson who's good at a leadership role, and there are chair people, let's say of a not-for-profit event, who are super hands-on, and I love that. I love that, because then that person has a clear understanding and clear direction. And then there are chair people who are just sort of there in name only, and you have to work with the staff person and a committee of 15 to 20 volunteers working on this board to pull this event off.
Yep.
And then you have your honorees and their staff to manage. So it's very important. I like to arm everybody with as much information as possible. You know, you have your electronic links and your PDFs and your invitations, and here's a draft of a solicitation letter. Just put your name on it. I want to just foolproof the entire thing and make it as painless as possible, because everybody else has their own jobs and their own businesses to run. This is a side thing for them, but for me, it's a primary.
Right. What could people expect? So many people are reluctant, I think, to put on events. You know, we're talking about the not-for-profit world now, but then I want to shift over to corporate America. But for the not-for-profit world, so many folks are reluctant to do it. But there's money to be made there, right? There's money to be made in real events.
Sure. I think a lot of the key to success for a not-for-profit, obviously, is having the right honoree.
Right.
And making that match with the right honoree out there in the world with the organization is the most important key to the event, because an honoree needs to know what's expected of them, aside from just writing a check. They have to support the event. You want them to supply a list of contacts or people that we can reach out to on their behalf. Some people are not comfortable saying, "Oh, you know, I'm being honored," and sending an email. I'll do it. We'll do it. You know, give us the information and we will go after that on your behalf. The follow-up is crucial, because it takes months of planning to get to the day of an event. And people start to hear about it, you know, 3, 4, 6 months back. So the constant follow-up. How many thousands of emails do you think you have in your inbox from me over the last 15 years about this stuff? Right? All about events.
But it's tastefully done. So there are organizations, one of the things that, and there's so many things that I admire about you, but one of the things I admire about you is you know the right pace. You know, there are organizations where they'll just blitz out endless amounts of emails to the point where you're not paying attention to anything, you know? But you've mastered the art of pace in terms of managing emails, and that's really an important part of this.
It's really important. Emails are annoying. I mean, they're functional and they're essential to doing business on Long Island and in the world in general in terms of promotion, but there's a really delicate line as to what's considered bothersome. You don't want people hitting the delete. You don't want people unsubscribing. You want them to stay engaged, but in a way that's effective.
Yeah, and honorees. So, one of the things, and I have been, you've been gracious enough to ask me to be honored at some of your events, and your events are events that I'm proud to be honored at because I know that they're very well done events. There are so many honorees nowadays and so many organizations and so many things going on that you don't know what to do anymore. So how do you manage that as well? Because, there's always so many people that can be honored on so many events.
Right. I think it's important to think outside the box and look a few years ahead. So if you, as an example, are being honored frequently, we know at a certain point there's a level of burnout for you and your particular contacts. But is there someone in your firm that's up and coming that I, as an organization or an event planner, want to keep an eye on that person and to see if something comes up, if I have a new client where it would be a good fit for them, because you want to be able to give back to the honoree as well. There's a ton of promotion involved with receiving an honor. It's not just, Joe showing up at the podium and getting an award the night of the event. So we want to sort of backfill all the information in advance so that you have as much promotional material as possible and that we can do it in return and give you, there's an ROI for you. There's got to be.
Right. Has social media, made it easier, made it more challenging? Everybody's a self-promoter now. Everybody makes their office look like the greatest culture in the world. Everybody's events are the greatest things since sliced bread. Has that helped or made it more challenging in your profession?
I think social media is great if in moderation, like any other addictive substance. It can be overdone by certain people. But again, if you measure it out and you've got your platforms, you have LinkedIn, you have Twitter, you have Facebook, you have your email marketing campaigns that are all tied and looped together. I think it forces people to wait till the last minute a lot of times. I mean, I run events. I just had a string of 3 events back to back this fall. And the week before, 2 days before, people are calling up wanting to purchase tickets. They just wait. And back in the day when it was just a paper invitation and you had an actual deadline, people observed that.
Right.
So now I think it's just such a last minute society and it always works out. But for me as a planner, I could live without the last minute. I could live without that part of it. But it's just the nature of the beast.
Yeah, and rolling with it. Another thing I really enjoy when I'm at an event that you're managing and I watch you is, you have control, but you're behind the scenes, but you got to roll with a lot of stuff that comes up, know?
Sure, and it's just part of the nature of being a planner. You have to know, you have to do as much as you can to anticipate whatever possibly could happen during the course of the event. And if something, God forbid, pops up as a surprise, you manage it, you deal with it. That's all.
Yeah, the show must go on.
The show must go on.
People freak out over these things, though. They really freak out, and it sort of puts a weird vibe in an event if you freak out about it. You just got to keep rolling.
Right, the show must go on, and everybody's there because they want to support the honoree or the event. 99.9% of the people are gracious and happy to be there. You're at a party. It's a party at the end of the day. There's a goal to accomplish and a message to get out. And one of the things I want to speak to the charities about is getting their message out effectively. When you have an event full of a few hundred people, this is your platform. This is your show. And yes, you're honoring someone or several people, but this is your moment to impart your mission and to really get people to drink your Kool-Aid so that they know this. Fundraisers are also friend raisers. I like to think of them that way. You have to present it in a way that you want whoever's there, and half of the group is your standing customers, your usual people who come and support you. The other half of the room is filled with brand new people who are there for the honorees or as new sponsors in support of the honoree. You want to touch those people and let them know what you're all about. And not every not-for-profit is good at that. Yeah. So that's one of the things that I try and work really hard with these groups is to let them know that you have to have an information table at your event. You need a central point with your brochures, your pamphlet, a staff person there the entire time, so that if someone is touched with your message at some point during the program, they have a place to go, somebody to talk to. Here's a business card. I'd like to help you. There always needs to be a point of entry there.
And it's important. And one of the things that I think you definitely help organizations with, because a lot of people have trouble asking people for money or putting pressure for people for money. But that's the moment. You have them all there in a room. You have these touching moments.
Yep.
You have to squeeze a little at that point.
Right.
While the pressure's on, because once they leave, that pressure is removed.
Right. They walk out the door, you can, if you don't engage them at the event, you don't have any chance of re-engaging them post-event. So let's say somebody's up there, and I like to have a table appeal. Not everybody's comfortable. Oh, they're here, they spent a lot of money on tickets, we don't want to bother them anymore. They're buying raffles, it's enough. It's not enough. It's not enough. Right? You have to have a table appeal, and not just with a generic envelope. I like to recommend to my clients that they need to have a card or some form mechanism to let people know that if I give $100, I am purchasing XYZ for this organization. Yep. I will fund sending a child to camp for a week. Something that's tangible. Yep. So that they know that, gee, well, if I'm giving $100 here, but I can send 3 kids to camp for $500 or whatever it is, I'll bump up and do that. Yep. So I think that's really important.
Yeah, listen, I have to tell you, I serve on a lot of boards, I've done a lot of work, and every event that we've worked on has been incredibly profitable. And so many organizations say, well, we don't want to spend the money, and they're short-sighted. They're really, really short-sighted. Let's switch for a minute. So the Imagine Awards, I want to talk about that. I had Ken on the show maybe 2 months ago, and I told Ken then, and I'll tell you now, that to me, somebody who goes to a lot of events and everything else, the Imagine Awards is really in the thousands of events on Long Island, in the top 3 in my mind of events that go on here on Long Island. It's really absolutely true. And I've known Ken a long time. He's talked about it, but it wasn't until he really partnered with you on it till it got executed and really gets taken off. So talk from your perspective about the Imagine Awards.
The history is Ken called me into his office about 8 years ago and said, I have this dream, I have this vision to run a not-for-profit competition honoring and highlighting the not-for-profits on Long Island who are innovative and doing impactful work. And there's never been anything done like this. So I helped him produce it. And this is his vision, his baby. And it's been such a pleasure over the last 7 years to watch this event evolve into something that is so important for Long Island. This year's Imagine Awards are April 30th at the Crest Hollow Country Club, and our deadline for not-for-profits to apply for the competition is Wednesday of this week. So there is still time. The application can be found on imagineawardsli.com, and anybody who is a 501c3 not-for-profit serving Long Island is eligible to apply. And we want to see, we have categories that are sponsored by our platinum sponsors that make it possible to give the winner of each of the 5 categories a gift of $5,000. So we have our Rising Star Award, which is for not-for-profits with a budget of less than $2 million. We have Social Impact, Leadership Excellence, Arts and Culture, which is a newer category, and our Innovation Award, did I say? And we have our sponsors, Sereni Associates, Sir Tilman Ballin, Claire Friedlander Family Foundation, Empire National Bank, and the Vanguard Insurance Agency. And these companies make it possible to give these grants. Last year we had over 400 people in the room, and this year it just grows exponentially each year. So of all of the applicants, and last year we had about 177 applicants, those are whittled down to 20 finalists. And all of the 20 finalists receive a video that the Imagine Awards shoots for them and takes care of for them. It's a promotional 1-minute video that we premiere the night of the event. We run it like the Academy Awards. And it's really exciting. It's goosebumps and there's some crying. And it just makes me so appreciative of all of the agencies on Long Island. There are 3,500 charities on Long Island.
Yeah, I love the event because it's not a pay-for-play event. They earn it on their merit. They earn it with the hard work. The recognition you guys give them at that event is amazing.
Tremendous amount of publicity. 20
finalists. And people don't realize, particularly here on Long Island, they have no idea of the impact that these not-for-profits have on the island. You know, we would be a much different place if it was not for them. Let's switch gears a little bit. Let's talk about Hillary, the woman. Okay, so one of the things that I love dearly about you is what a tremendous role model you are for women here on Long Island. I mean, you juggle a lot of balls. There's never been a complaint. There's never been a frown. There's never been a down day, at least that I've been able to see. So talk about that. I mean, I love how close you are with your family.
Yeah.
I love how passionate you are with your business. I love how passionate you are with Long Island and energy. How do you do all that, right?
It just, that's my nature. I don't think you can manufacture yourself to be an event planner, just the same way. I didn't go to law school because that wasn't my thing, but somehow this is just exactly what I was supposed to be doing. And the not-for-profit component is a natural fit for me because just that's how I started out in the work world. So everything I do is geared sort of with that in mind. I mean, even the corporate events, holidays are coming, and if a company came to me and said, Hillary, we want to do something that's a little different, I would steer them to pick a charity and do something for the day with your group. And I know Campolo, Middleton, McCormick is really proactive doing that, going out there in the world, doing some good, and then you have a party after the fact. So it's not only just a celebration, but you're helping another group, tangibly helping another group. You're team building, you're making some real alliances out there, and then you can celebrate after.
Yeah, it's hard. I mean, you have a supportive family. Your husband is terrific because a lot of what you do are nights and weekends and all sorts of stuff that other working women tend to shy away from.
Yes.
So it's very nice.
Yeah, and my kids are, this is what they were raised on. There have been, as a working mom, there have been some carpool pickups over the years where, everybody had to zip it while I was on a conference call in the car on the pickup line. That's just, that's just what they're used to. But at the end of the day, I see it in my daughter. She's about to graduate college, and I see the leadership role she's taken at school and in her sorority, and so it's kind of fun.
Yeah,
to watch
and you're such a great role model because there's never an excuse. The show goes on, Hillary's in charge, it's going to get done, and it's all going to come together. Whether you're making latkes or whether I bump into you at a Dave Matthews Band concert at Jones Beach, you're out there, doing that.
You have to balance it and try and set your boundaries.
Right. Another thing I know is important to you is Hofstra.
Yes.
So Hofstra is very important to you. I saw that your daughter just got accepted to the graduate PA program there, which I'm sure is making
really
Mama beam with pride.
Yes.
You know, so talk about Hofstra, because I feel the same passion from my alma mater, Stony Brook, and I love when people are passionate about their schools. So talk about that.
So I graduated with a degree in journalism, but it didn't start there with me. My mom went to Hofstra, and she was actually a past president of the Alumni Association. So I knew that would be a path that I would want to travel in my professional realm. It's also personal to me. Right now I serve as president of the Lawrence Herbert School of Communication alumni, and that the Herbert School is just exploding. We've got a new dean who's amazing, and a lot of really cool activities, and I love seeing things evolve over time and all the little parts that people play in it. And it's been very rewarding for me, connecting with alumni. And I think from a networking perspective, which is what a lot of Long Island is about, I don't think people utilize their alumni networks nearly enough. Everybody's always afraid, okay, they'll ask me for money, but at the end of the day, it is what you make it. And I've met some of my dearest friends through the alumni. And we didn't go to school together at the time, but I met them after the fact.
Yep, and I'll tell you, it's so true. Early on in my career, I plugged in with the Stony Brook Alumni Association, and it's just been so rich with rewards back that I don't look giving to Stony Brook. I don't look like I'm spending anything. I look like I'm making an investment that's going to reap back a much bigger value
and
reward.
Isn't that what volunteering is all about?
Yeah.
You wind up getting more than you could ever possibly
Absolutely.
give. And that's something I encourage people to do also. If you want to network, join a board. And it doesn't have to be the board of the charity. Start out on an event committee.
Yeah.
I work with so many amazing people who are out there doing everything else but event planning in the world. But this is something that they feel passionately about.
Yep. So let's talk about corporate America. So not-for-profits, you're the gold standard in events for not-for-profits. One of the things that I'd love to see you do more of, and I'm sure you would too, is for-profit
Sure.
events.
That's always fun.
You know, they do a terrible job a lot of the times because they'll have someone in-house that they think knows how to do an event, and you go to them, whether it's their holiday party or anything else, and it's sort of a mess, you know? But they're actually much harder to squeeze dollars out of than not-for-profits sometimes.
Sometimes because they feel that they have plenty of staff people to handle running an event. And there are times when it's tasked to the CEO's executive assistant, to put together the holiday
party. And those business guys, they think they know how to do everything, and they don't. And I'm here to tell you guys, you don't, and you need to be talking to Hillary right now.
Well, here's the thing about being a professional planner. You have the relationships. I know venues and vendors, and there's a way to make something out of nothing, and it doesn't have to be from a not-for-profit perspective. There's a way to be cost-effective, so your ROI is exactly what you want it to be.
Right.
And you're working smarter in a more creative and a more interesting way.
Yeah, so culture is the big thing now, corporate culture, and everybody's hiring a corporate culture officer, and they're hiring all these things. But culture gets hurt if you do terrible events. I'm sorry, but it does. People notice it. It's not memorable. They need to be professionalizing their events, and they need to be getting
keep it tight,
in touch with Hillary. Keep it moving, right? That's what I like.
Yep.
You just got to keep it moving.
Yep.
And you gotta roll with the punches. So what's 2019 look like for you? Some of the highlights.
2019 is exciting already. I've got an interesting and a fun new group that I'm working with. They're the Designers and Builders Alliance of Long Island, and it's a professional trade organization of interior designers, architects, builders, developers, and they have done a large event over the last couple of years that they felt got to a point where they needed to bring me in.
Yep.
Their event is called Mystery by Design, so it's a mystery-themed gala, and it's happening March 25th. It's a Monday night. Last year they had 350 people, and it's the industry event of the year. So this year we are honoring Marilyn Rose of Marilyn Rose Interior Design with the Lifetime Achievement Award. She's an amazingly creative and talented woman, and a lovely person. And we have George Oliphant, George to the rescue from WWC.
Yep.
He's our honorary chairperson, so he's been involved for a while, and I'm enjoying working with them. They're creative and they're fun, and it's different than working with a strictly corporate client, even though it's a business event. And proceeds of this event go to Kids Need More charity.
Oh, that's terrific.
Here's a perfect example. You've got a trade organization wanting to do good, bringing everybody together, networking for good, and writing a big fat check to a great charity.
Yep. So we got to wrap here, Hill, but people want to get in touch with you. How can they reach out to you?
Find me on my website, hillaryneedleevents.com.
Terrific.
It's all there.
Terrific. And thanks everyone for joining us. Thanks, Hillary. Keep up the good work. Absolutely.
You.
And folks, welcome back to CMM Live. I'm Joe Campolo, your host. It is Monday, November 26th. We're doing a post-Thanksgiving show here. Hope everybody enjoyed their Thanksgiving. And we have as our next guest John Robertson. John is the founder and CEO of The Sexy Salad, and John has spent at least the last 15 years of his career trying to make food fun and trying to make food part of corporate America's culture, something that I think is incredibly important, incredibly interesting. People just haven't thought about it that way, but we have recently, and we're going to spend the next half hour talking about it. So, John, thanks for joining us. Appreciate you having you joining us here today.
Thank you for having me.
Of course, absolutely. So talk about the last 15 years. Talk about how this whole idea of the sexy salad came to you, and talk about how it all sort of has unfolded.
So yeah, recently, just this past October 29th, we celebrated our 15th year, and it was a nice journey. But the journey started long before that. I had always desired to have my own business. As a kid, I worked in the local deli as a 15-year-old, and certainly any odd jobs I can get before that, shoveling and cutting lawns and things like that. So, I've always been a worker, but at the age of 15, I worked in a deli, and I said, someday I'm going to have a place of my own. Number of years went by. I was 21 years old, had worked a lot of different hotels, restaurants, and such, and I happened to be on a vacation in the Club Med in Eleuthera, down in the Bahamas. And as you walk into the dining room, if you've ever been a Club Med vacation, it's family style. And you walk in, and I hear from the back of the room, "Sexy salads, get your sexy salads." And I kind of walked over there, and I saw this gentleman. He's a big, tall hat, standing on or maybe he wasn't, I don't know, he just kind of towered over the room. But he's got a room full of, or a table full of ingredients, making sexy salads. So that night, I said, I've got the name of my restaurant, now I just need the education and the financing. Yes, that's that too. So I guess I was 21 years old at that time, and I was 40 years old by the time I finally got it open. But the whole time it was with that specifically in mind. I want to get my place open. So
that stuck with you that whole time.
Yeah, it was in the vault, as they say.
Yeah.
It was certainly, I liked the name. It was very whimsical. You could have fun. In fact, I got back from that vacation. I was vacationing just before I took a chef's job in St. James, and so we had our grand opening party, and I used that term right away. That weekend, we had a private party for the family of the owners, and I'm screaming out, top of my lungs, "Sexy salads, get your sexy salads," and it stuck, and so sure. Here I am today, living the American dream, if you will.
Yeah, well, it's great. I mean, sexy salad has certainly become a known quantity here on Long Island, particularly right in the heart of the Hot Dog Industrial Park. It's great to have you guys there. But you recently have grown, and you've expanded into burgers and ice cream, and talk about that progression as well.
Yeah, so, I guess starting with my vision, things evolve. Your vision evolves. And when I first opened 15 years ago, I thought it was going to be very simple. I was a fast casual eatery. I was going to serve some soup, salad, panini to local community. And, as far as catering, it's going to be some sandwich baskets, fruit platters, a couple of salads, and not much more than that. But as I got to know the community, as the community got to know me, and we developed our relationship, they made it very clear that I'm either their caterer or I'm not their caterer. So what else you got was the question. What else you got? And so what else do I have? I don't know. Let's start doing some hot foods, and let's start doing some bouquets, and let's do some carvings, and it evolved. So my first menu was one page, black and white, done on a Microsoft Word, and now we're going to print with our brand new 32-page color menu. So that's over 15 years. Each time we go to print, it's another couple more pages. Ice cream, burgers, smoothies. People want to know that you're in it, and they want to call a caterer. So we evolved a number of years ago. We added or kind of changed our name to the Sexy Salad Catering Company opposed to the Sexy Salad, just because our catering had taken over so much more of our business. And I wanted people to feel really comfortable that it's more than just sandwiches and soups at this point. And they can kind of feel a little comfortable with other brands, other avenues. And I could really be their caterer. And corporate was looking for that. They didn't want to call a different caterer for each occasion, maybe one for a holiday and somebody else entirely for their summer barbecue. You don't develop relationships that way. So it worked out really well for us. You got to listen to your customers, and we did. And I think it's going to continue beyond that. Right now, we've got the burgers, we've got the smoothies, we've got the salads. We've got the ice cream. Sexy Cow has been doing wonderful for culture, is really the intention behind that one. But and beyond, we see continuing different brands, different foods. I'm always looking to see what the next trend is. You want to keep people happy. Fortunately, my customers are regulars, but they won't be if I get stale. I have to keep it fresh always.
Yeah, and listen, it's a great resource, and I don't think that business people understand how important culture is. Maybe they are learning now, and they're trying. But I'll tell you, John. We've known each other a while. We've started to work much more closely over these past few months. John has been doing our catered events at our firm, and there's definitely a marked difference. People are tired. It used to be give your staff bagels on a Friday and everybody's happy. People are fatigued with bagels on a Friday. They're just fatigued with it. And now, with your help, we do this almost surprise Friday morning hot breakfast. What's it going to be? They're excited. They're invigorated. They look forward to it. There's a lot of thankfulness about that. We used the ice cream service at our Halloween party internally. It was a huge hit. Huge
awesome.
hit.
I love it.
It was crazy good. And I want you to talk about that because I think it was. I can't do it justice, but it really was a huge hit to end a meal like that. So really, you're on the cusp of this culture revolution that we're having inside of businesses, and that's really what I'm so intrigued by you.
So a lot of that actually came by accident. Came with my slim margin industry. The food service industry is notoriously low margins. So I'm looking at 2019. Am I going to make any changes? Am I going to make any expense
You're going to make any money, right?
Am I going to make any money? And so one thing I looked at is, we have part of our policy there is if you work for the Sexy Salad, you can have anything you like to eat at no charge, no questions asked. We've got 25 employees right now. 25 employees times, $10 a day. Is that something I want to consider eliminating from the budget? And the answer was an emphatic no when I really did my research and thinking about it. It's the reason I've got such talent. So not only am I going to keep it, but now I'm going to spread the word. Listen, you're in my store on a very regular basis. You see my employees. Yep. You see the talent that I'm attracting. Can we have a conversation as to why? And I think I've got a story to tell, and people are listening. It's quite an interesting subject. I found it to be extremely interesting. Workplace culture. If you're intentional about it, what can you do? What can you do to help develop your team? And certainly catering as a tool, just as a tool. Certainly it's my own soapbox, and catering is obviously how I pay my own bills. But what are you doing for your culture is the conversation that I'm asking my CEOs. And the conversation can go into whether it be my catered services or the local discount at the gym, locally. Is there a financial wealth advisor that can come in and give a class? Is that something that's going to enhance your culture at your workplace? These are all ideas that I'm getting actually meeting with CEOs. I'm getting ideas from them as well as other services and trying to find solutions for some of my companies.
Yeah, I'll tell you, food is the top priority. It sounds, almost nuts, but I have to tell you, introducing, food the way you've allowed us to introduce it into our culture. If folks want an immediate impact on their culture, if they want to immediately improve and get rid of tensions and make people feel appreciated, you give them a meal. You give them a beautiful meal, a hot meal with decorations and everything else, you're immediately going to improve the culture and morale around the office.
And that's certainly 90% of it. Will be immediate. Some of it takes time. I have one company, they do an Easter egg hunt every year, and they might not have gotten a return their first year, but they invited family, spouses, children, and you got to know, maybe Bill's kids that one time you got introduced, but the following year you got to see Bill's kids again, but only a year older, and the following year, and the following year, and the following year. So you're developing culture over time. As you said, ice cream this afternoon, it's an immediate, absolutely, and people feel great. So it's a combination, it's a mix, and you've got to, I think about it for the entire year. What's your program for the year? What are we going to do to enhance our culture? Certainly is something that I have seen time and time again. 40 years in the industry, people do incredible things for food. I've seen it time and again. I had an issue with my one of my hot boxes the other day. One of my guys, electrician, hey Nick, what do you know about this? And for the price of a cup of coffee and an egg sandwich, he fixed my hot box. Right. People do incredible things for food. So I've seen that time and again with my own self, and the experiences that I'm seeing out there are just the stories that I can share of success are just incredible. The proof is in the pudding.
It just amazes me that it's taken people so long to to realize that, right? Because what do we do with our families? Any poignant moment, any holiday, what do? We celebrate it with food. We celebrate it around with a meal. And so why not at work? Wouldn't you want to celebrate the holidays and the highs and the lows with a meal? It just makes sense. And I really feel like your time has come. You know, you've been preaching this a long time, but I really feel like your time has come and this is going to blow up big time.
Sure. So it's not something that I've invented. And it's not even something that I've discovered myself alone. For years, certainly the West Coast, they're the forefront when it comes to workplace culture, it seems. They are the leaders when it comes to culinary trends, from what I can see in California. When I look to get my ideas, I like to travel out to California, see what's hot, what's the newest trend. And so certainly out there, for the last decade, for sure, if you worked for a large, up-and-coming, forward-thinking company, they were going to buy you breakfast and lunch, and it's just the way it was. And that was just one more nice thing about working for that particular company. They were looking to attract the best. They wanted to be the employer of choice. It wasn't going to happen by accident. So food, cafeterias, you'll eat here as part of the program. Again, part of the program. It's the entire culture. And that's why you're going to be able to, if you intentionally think and discuss and have these conversations with your board, what are we doing next year to enhance our culture? You're going to get great results out of it.
Yeah, I'm a firm believer of that. And one of the things that I have a lot of admiration for you about is, how passionate, but also how serious you take your business. You're very passionate, but you're very, very serious about your business. And I think recently you were rewarded by being accepted into the Goldman Sachs 10,000 Small Business Program, which I kudos and hats off to you. Truly, truly amazing. Talk to our viewers about that, because I think that's a really important milestone for you and for your business.
Yeah, so that's an absolutely incredible gift from Goldman Sachs of $500 million to educate small businesses like myself who have a passion, but might be missing something, whether it be the accounting portion of it, the marketing, human resources, the legal aspect. What are you missing in your business? So this gift was given to small businesses. They took this money and they went to Babson College, the Wharton School of Business, and said, come up with a program for small businesses. We want to educate 10,000 small businesses across the country. They've recently graduated 7,500 businesses.
All right, got it.
Doing my math there quickly. And they're proud of that fact, hitting their goal of 10,000 small businesses. And for me, it was a game changer. For most people that go through the program, it's a game changer. For me, you graduate the Goldman Sachs program. It's an intense mini MBA, if you will. For me, it was discover your growth opportunity was the challenge they gave to us. Before you graduate, you'll know what your real opportunity was. And it was right in front of me. So when I was doing my math on am I going to eliminate food, I realized that's my growth opportunity. Let's preach. My customers are in my store every day, every week, every month, every year, and they have for years. So they see my lack of turnover. During the Goldman Sachs program, part of it was doing extensive research. However much you may know about your industry right now, there's more to know. So I went down to the Miller Business Resource Center, and I did my homework. Not really getting educated to a whole lot of this, but I did see that it's a fact. The number one threat is the turnover, lack of well-trained employees in my industry. The number one threat. Beyond foodborne illness, beyond high prices, beyond increased legislation, the increased or the turnover. So I looked at my own situation. I don't have that. I have employees with me for 14 years. I'm only a 15-year-old company. My average turnover, I'm putting stockings up for the holidays, and I'm seeing there's half my employees have been with me more than 10 years.
Yeah.
So I realized that's something that I can probably take some experiences of my own out to the market and at least have a conversation in the boardroom. And those conversations have been very welcoming. I'll start a conversation in my restaurant. And the CEO normally invites me out to his office. We set something up. We just close the doors and we just talk about employee culture. And so it really was my growth opportunity. So that's where I'm taking out to the streets, the story that I've got to tell. And I've done a tremendous amount of research. I've got some interesting stories, interesting data on increased productivity when you start to work culture into your annual budget, if you will, intentional. I mean, culture is always going to be there, right? So whether it's an intentional culture or an accidental culture is up to you, up to the CEO, up to the president of the company. And, you know, collaboration, obviously, with the HR department and department heads. You want to have that conversation. What can we do to make sure that people are enjoying their job? They enjoy their job more, not only are they going to stay longer, but they're going to be that much more motivated to get the job done. So productivity is going to go up tremendously when you are intentional about it.
Yep. So one of the reasons why I started doing this show is because people would ask me all the time, how are you guys growing so fast? Who are the people that you're working with? How are you doing it? And I use this show as an opportunity to showcase folks that have assisted us in their growth and in turn are growing phenomenally well themselves and helping Long Island grow. And you know, hats off to Goldman Sachs in that program, because there was a different message. Once you had started that program, there was a different message that you were presenting. And that was the message that I think you and I really stuck with. And based on the conversations that we had when we were out to your place and we showcased you on our social media, based on those conversations, we made internal changes as well. Our marketing committee, so we have committees where employees buy into all the things that are going on. Our marketing committee became a marketing and culture committee, and we realized that we have to be marketing as well to the outside community, to the inside community also. You know, one of the challenges with the unemployment rate being so low is talent's a challenge across the board. And I think that that's an incredibly important mission for you as a CEO, having gone through that program and having really learned to be taken out on the road to CEOs here on Long Island as to how are they going to improve their culture. And I'll tell you, since we've been working with you and put together a better plan, it really has done a terrific job. And so I want all of our listeners to understand that this just isn't fluff. This is how are we increasing our bottom line? We're having more satisfied employees. How are we having more satisfied employees? We're improving the culture. And that's not, you know, something that can be taken lightly, and food is such an important and critical part of that. Let's shift to millennials. Okay, one of the things that I think you've seen over the last 15 years, particularly here on Long Island, is the shift in workforce, and you're going to see an even more dramatic shift in workforce. So how does that affect your planning, and how does that affect your business plan?
Yeah. So one thing I've discovered recently is these millennials are absolutely brilliant. I brought them into the office and updated my office, and I should have done it quite some time ago. I had an opportunity this past summer to hire a high school intern. And she was the top of her class. She's going off to an Ivy League school. She was just absolutely ripe for my office and really kind of, you know, gave me an opportunity to learn from somebody, the fresh generation. And so our office is updated quite a bit. We've got 2 millennials in the office, and we've just added 5 millennials to our customer service staff. It's a different breed entirely. So one of the reasons we've been successful is we understand millennials, what drives them. And that was through some reading, that was through some classes that I had been to, and just talking to them, what drives them. So sitting down one-on-one in a quiet environment and see what motivates them. And I've learned certainly the challenge always has to be there for them. If I don't give them challenges at work, they're going to leave me. So there's always, which is great for me, because that means that I can always grow my company, because I'm always throwing different challenges at them. They're responsible for specific projects where I may have had somebody in the past work on a specific project. Now it's teams. I've got 3, 4 people working on a specific project right now, so the camaraderie is being built. The millennials, everybody complains about them. My goodness, I'm so glad that I found them. In addition to my staff that's been with me for many years, I'm getting students right out of college doing a wonderful job for me. I've got one young lady, she's doing graphic design. She's got a graphic design degree. She kept me more excited. When I get a fist pump in the air when she throws on a sexy salad shirt that tells me we're doing something right.
Yeah.
You know, we are the employer of choice. We are the food business. You can work anywhere. You know, why am I going to get them to work for me? And so I've got to have intentional designs, and I want those millennials. My eyes have opened up, as long as I understand them. If you don't understand them, when I spoke to my millennial about taking my parking spot, and he couldn't understand, it wasn't convenient to park over where I had parked. It took me by surprise. But after doing a little research, I absolutely understand, including the fact that in a lot of the eyes of the millennials, I'm his peer. There's no father figure. My father taught me how to play chess. He learned chess from his peer. You know, the video games, they're learning from each other. Not only that, but they're learning from their own mistakes. They're not being told necessarily what to do right and what to do wrong. If they're at the generation of playing the video games, they make a mistake and they say, okay, don't do that again. So once you understand what drives them, what motivates them, I think you can work with them a lot better and get a great relationship going at work and tap into that market. It's a wide open market.
Yeah, there's no choice but for us to grow with this new generation and to, make our work environments more friendly to them. I mean, some people will resist that, but I think that's a very big mistake. What about eating habits? So it's interesting you went from salads to burgers. I think people say, oh, salads are in and everybody's eating healthy.
Yeah.
I'm a burger guy, make no mistake about it. Salad's not, the first thing I'm reaching for. But what do you see about the eating habits?
Yeah, so when I first opened 15 years ago, I had some great vision of adding a real healthy eatery to the Hauppauge Industrial Park. And I was ahead of my time. Again, so the year was 2003. And we made farro salad, quinoa salad, bulgur wheat salad, put them all in the case, and we threw them away. Nobody ever heard of Freeka before. And now people come in and say, hey, do you happen to have anything made with Freeka? And we have it on our salad bar, and we have it in the grab-and-go case. And so things that I couldn't give away 15 years ago are now my hottest items. People are a lot more educated. 15 years, right? 15 years. Think about what's happened in 15 years. When I first got there, I called Cablevision, the largest internet service provider on Long Island, asked for service here in my new restaurant here in the Hauppauge Industrial Park. They had not offered it just 15 years ago. And now look at where we are. So technology has offered a lot. The information is there. So any information that you want on any subject, including healthy eating, is available. So people are a lot more wise to the options, and they're certainly a lot more vocal. But which is a good thing for an owner like myself. Having your customers tell you what they want is a wonderful thing, and so. Years ago, the burgers, we do well with it. I'll be honest with you, we do really well as the week progresses. Monday morning, the line at the salad station is full, and by Friday, the burger line is the outperformer. It seems people forget their diets by Friday, but it's a balance maybe. Something a little bit different, but overall, the burger section is a much smaller footprint than the salads. Salads still represent 75% of our business, and I think that's because of the trend of healthier eating. The obesity rates that we spoke about 15 years ago, 10 years ago, are a fraction of what they used to be. We're definitely making progress in this country, and I think it's through education.
Yep. So one of the things I love about your shop, because I'm sort of a food snob in terms of cleanliness and orderliness, is the immaculate state that you keep your shop in. It's always clean, it's always neat, it's always orderly, which is important, I think, to a lot of people when it comes to food places. There's challenges there, right? I mean, we have a recent headlines about romaine lettuce, and that must cause a lot of challenges. Talk about you and how you manage that and how you keep it running so well.
Yeah. Well, first, the realizing is the importance of it. So Warren Buffett is a great one who says, I buy stock because I like the product. I buy Coca-Cola because I drink Coca-Cola. And I think that a whole lot of other people will also like Coca-Cola, right? So if I like a nice, clean restaurant with excellent service, doesn't it hold true that everybody else would as well? So start with realizing and understanding your customers' needs and the importance of it. But the amount of compliments we get on our cleanliness and our sanitation practices are one of the reasons that it can help drive. My employees get a kick out of it. They love hearing compliments just as much as I do. So when people walk in and say, "I just love this place. It's clean, it's orderly, it's well run," it shows that we're organized. It works for us, It's a matter of hiring the right people that get it as well. I don't want to be the boss that's constantly on them saying, maintain your station.
Yeah.
Hire the right people, train them accordingly. They don't know coming in how to sanitize and how to keep a food business going. They've never worked in it before, or their experience is limited. Or one of the other challenges in my industry is getting the right education out to the workforce. So it's certainly my duty to educate them on the importance of that. And just when they're around the customers, I mean, the customers fuel them. They'll come in with the compliments, and it just drives my employees to do that much better of a job.
Yeah, I mean, it's a huge testament. I don't know that people understand how difficult it is for a food service to stay in business for 15 years and not have turnover and have such an incredible, reputation and following. I mean, the people, and I want to talk, we got a few minutes left. I want to talk about the Hop Hog Industrial Association because, as you know, I chair the board there, and you're a part of it. You're a part of it. You're part of the fabric. You're part of what people talk about. People talk about let's grab something to eat at the Sexy Salad and then go sit and do what we have to do. How has that all unfolded for you? Did you expect to be such a central part of the Hop Hog Industrial Park at this point?
So I love the HIA-LI. For me, as a small business owner in the park, it has done wonderful for me in my resources, getting to know people in many different facets. I mean, they're a very, very well-run organization, some good history, but one thing that I really like about them, I love the education. There's always an opportunity for me to sit in a room and listen to one of my CEOs talk about their company, their culture, talk about what's worked for them, what hasn't worked for them, and you learn from them. That's how we grow. We learn from each other. So the HIA just happens to have the right blend of people for me. So I've got my high-end catering customers that are members of the HIA that love and respect, and we have that nice relationship. And then we also have people that I happen to see at the meetings that just come in as a regular retail customer, and that's great as well. But it's really made us, it's our location, being in the heart of the office park. The Hop Hog Industrial Association really is my support system behind me to help get the word out. Without them, I never would have been nearly as successful as I am today. It includes all the way back to the beginning when I was lucky enough to receive the Rookie of the Year award. Still trying to get my feet wet and trying to figure things out. What exactly am I trying to do? But they saw a vision, and they put their reputation on the line to pass that award on to me, and certainly I was very appreciative of that, and that helped launch. I'm very active. HIA-LI is a great organization. As long as you are a member that's participating. You get out of it what you put into it, right? So I love going to the meetings. I love shaking hands. I love, that's the social aspect about my business that I love so much. Anybody that knows me is introvert would not be a description that people typically use for me. I love people. Off for 4 days of Thanksgiving, I didn't know what to do with myself. I'm glad to be back in the public,
That's great, and we really appreciate all the support you give the HIA-LI. You're always a great sponsor. About 30 seconds left, so talk to us about 2019 and what you're going to be up to in 2019, and then we'll wrap it up.
So technology is certainly in the forefront. Speeding fast, we introduced today our first grab-and-go station of online orders to be picked up, so our customers don't have to work, they don't have to wait online anymore. They don't have to wait for one of my staff members. We've got a station set up exclusively for pickups. We're working with third-party delivery systems these days. Technology is behind it now. We've tried this for many years, and it's always failed. Didn't have the technology. So embracing technology, using technology as a tool, utilizing Google is a great resource. My customers seem to love us. So we've just put on a Google beacon in our store, so it kind of reminds people to rate us. So our ratings are up in the 4.5, 4.6 now on Google. That's just because our regular customers. So it all comes down to technology. I'm embracing technology and the current food trends. What else are we looking at? Something you always have to pay attention to is the current food trends.
That's great news, John. People want to get in touch with you. People want to visit. Give us a way to get in touch.
So certainly, John at thesexysalad.com. I check my emails often and get right back to you. But certainly, we're real easy to find a block north of Motor Parkway, right in the heart of the Hop Hog Industrial Park.
Yep, folks, you want to improve your culture immediately? Call this man. He is our Chief Culture Officer here, John Robertson, CEO of the Sexy Salad. Thanks for joining us today, folks, and thanks, John, for being on.
Thank you very much. Thanks, Joe.